You're live.
All right, we are here with Terror in Talabheim with our 5 fearless heroes. I'm going to go over quickly the situation, and then we're going to jump into the game. So this game starts in 2522. That is the year on the imperial calendar. It's the summer. This is the second year of a massive invasion of chaos forces from the north, and even from within the empire. There have been greenskins and beastmen rising up to take advantage of that, and the empire is in flames at the moment. A year ago, the Elector Count Helmut Feuerbach marched out from Talabheim, which is in the Grand Duchy of Talabheim, and he marched out to join the emperor in the northeast to face this chaos horde. He disappeared over the winter, and there are tons of rumors flying around about what ultimately happened to him, but really nobody seems to know any details. He's just disappeared. And in his disappearance, his wife, the Countess Elise Kreiglitz-Untern, has taken the reins of the city and is now ruling in his stead. You are all here right outside of Talabheim. There is a smaller kind of sister city called Talagad, and that is the main reason for its existence is that it exists along the river Talabheim. And so it is sort of the trading center and post for the city of Talabheim. It has a reputation as a much rougher and dangerous place. It has the docks, obviously, and a lot of immigrants here and immigrant workers in this city. Talabheim itself is in a very strange physical geography. The city is located inside a massive crater that has been here since time immemorial. It is said that Tau, a god of the empire, battled a serpent, and this crater was the result of that great battle. And so the city of Talabheim is nestled inside this crater, and it's actually got some fertile land in there. Talagad is on the other side of the crater, and to get back and forth between the two, the only known way in and out of this crater is through a very narrow winding path that works its way up the crater, outside the crater, goes through a massive, very well defended fortress, and then down the other side, snaking down into Talabheim. You are all here in Talagad for various reasons. All of you would probably much rather be in Talabheim right now. It's a much safer place, especially with marauders running around in the countryside. But the access to the city is very closely guarded, and you have to purchase basically passes to get into the city if you are not already a citizen. They allow people from outside to travel in, but they usually have limited passes, kind of like buying a week pass at Disney World. You can go in, and then if you are caught inside the city with an expired pass, you are severely fined and expelled, and probably will never be allowed back in again. So in any case, this is where you are. The current situation is that news from the front is starting to come in that the empire is winning the war and turning the tide. And the emperor has predicted that by the end of the year, the forces of chaos will be broken and peace will be restored to the land. That's kind of the news that is pouring in. So everybody's rather happy about that, but that doesn't change the fact that Talagad is now swelled with refugees from all over. Originally, people from Kislev, which is the country if you follow the river to the northeast and go far enough, you'll get to Kislev. People have immigrated here for a long time. Generations of people have worked in Talagad, and they have kind of a thriving community here. But in recent months, people from Hawkland to the north here and from the surrounding Talabek land villages, as villages are raided and burned to the ground and that sort of thing, refugees have been pouring into this city. And now there's not enough jobs for everyone and not enough food for everyone. So riots are frequent. People are looking for jobs all the time if you're not a citizen. And so things are tight. So why, for whatever reason you each have in your history, why you are here, you find, all five of you find yourselves, at least for the last 2 mornings, if not more, showing up at what is called the workers' wall, which is where people who are looking for work and willing to do most anything for food or money show up and hope to impress the bosses and foremen that come by looking for cheap labor and just picking the heads they want. You hope that you will get picked as one of those people. It's pretty degrading, and you probably have not had much success. So, any questions about any of that?
No.
Nope.
Nope. All right. Then I will take you to the docks. So if you look down your map, this is sort of a map of the of a very busy part of the dock area, and you can see you're all down there gathering at what's called the workers' wall. So there are lots and lots of other people crammed into this small area, jostling to try to get attention whenever anybody comes by. And unfortunately, most of the time, people are just going their way and not actually looking for laborers. And then there's a kind of a groan that goes through the group. So, if you want to describe yourselves to one another, and if you know each other, maybe a couple of you, I know there's a couple of you at least that are probably standing next to each other and know one another.
Torin is standing there, if I may, with as he has for the past few days, kind of with a exasperated, if not bored, maybe even fatigued look on his face. You know, you guys see that he has on modest, I guess it might be like a leather and hauberk, I guess, you know, if I'm describing that kind of correctly.
Yes.
That has seen, it's not brand new, but it just noticeably has maybe some strategically placed scuff marks on it to make it look like it's supposed to be more worn than it is. So you can take that as you want to. He also has I guess like a forearm or arm's length sword at his side, a fairly new looking wooden round shield, and a short spear, I guess, at his side as well. Over these past few days, I guess it's safe to say that you guys have like noticed that Torin's a younger man, you know, or yeah, he's a young adult. Pretty he likes to call himself big boned, but he is pretty beefy, is prone to sweating a lot, and he seems to have a never-ending supply of kerchiefs that he has no issue with quickly whipping out and dabbing his face in order to keep the sweat at bay, which, you know, seems like a never-ending problem of his. And this whole situation of having to present himself for work is just a tiring thing for him. It's beneath him totally. But you guys know that if he were truly of noble blood, more than likely he wouldn't be here in the first place. Done.
Yeah, and and I would say that Nikolai, at the very least, would know, kind of being from this working class and be probably more familiar with the people of the working wall than most of the rest of you. He can tell that you are overdressed for work. Like you look like a soldier, and no one's here to hire a soldier.
Okay.
And you look a little overweight to be hauling stuff. Like there's more lithe, muscular people that get the
dock work is not his thing for sure.
Yeah, you look like you don't belong here exactly.
Okay.
So Andolph is standing in the corner, and he's standing next to Lucius. He's wearing, long gray robes, and he's kind of holding himself up on his quarterstaff. Anytime anyone walks by who looks like they might be looking for some workers, he kind of straightens himself up real quick and dusts off his robes, and he overextends when he's looking. He looks a little, he turns his head a little further because his right eye has no vision. It's milky. So he's just kind of overextending and looking around in wide circles to see who's around and who's coming. And he's holding a staff. He has his robes, and he's looking around to see who's coming. And he looks down at Lucius and someone he's known in the past and has had conversations with in the past. And he says, "Oh, I think today's going to be the day that we get a job. I really do. I think I saw it in the stars. I don't think you need to be much depressed longer. We're going to get a job. I can feel it."
I am not depressed, astrologer. I am merely awoken to the doom that approaches us all. And for your sorry state, I can only hope your doom comes sooner, my dear friend, for that eye does you no service and no credit in this line of work. Truly, it is painful to watch people pass you by and simply say no. And he's got Lucius with wearing sort of it's pretty ratty sort of coat style clothing he's got on, covering his neck and the edges of his face. Starting to go bald on top of his head. He's rather tall. He's about 6'2". He's got a farming flail, sort of a threshing flail that he's got in one hand and sort of leaning to. Looks very severe. Very serious eyes, and anyone who's been on the workers' wall before, he probably has a reputation of breaking into the occasional rant about how doom is coming, and no matter what news you hear from the north, the gods are angry, and all sinners should seek to repent and give their lives in service to Sigmar and Ulrich, and simply pray that they will be spared a gruesome death, as others will not, as the end comes. And that we should all be thankful for the moldy bread which we receive.
And you notice that most of the, there's not a lot of room here. There's not a lot of wiggle room, but somehow the ordinary people around him, they all kind of give him some room. They back away from him. Nobody wants to be standing right up next to him. And anybody that starts to do that, someone inevitably will reach in and just kind of pull them back and then shake their head at them like, no, don't stand next to that guy.
So Francis is I don't know. I guess I don't know what average height would be. Probably his height's not about. No, I don't think his height's very average. He's kind of a shorter guy, very, very stout. Um, he's only about 5'8", but he carries a lot of extra weight, especially in the midsection. One of the first things that you would probably notice about him is the way that he walks, due to the fact that he walks a bit bow-legged. He's kind of an outcast, and he sort of is withdrawn a little bit anyway. Just due to that fact. Sorry about that. I just got my headphones caught up.
Nope, you're good.
But I mean, he looks, just the way he looks, you can tell he's kind of he looks a bit ragtag. He doesn't look like he's had a very good run of things, and he's just kind of, like I said, he
The people around this guy give him resentful looks all the time because he's taking space of 3 people basically. He's
easy.
They're just, and he keeps like, people can't, when Foreman comes by, people behind him are extremely frustrated. They're trying to get around him. They're trying to, at least they can kind of jump up and be seen over the top of him. But he's not a very popular man in the crowd.
So we're elbow to elbow, basically. Is it that tight, pretty much?
It's pretty tight.
Wow. Okay.
Everybody who still has enough energy and hope to show up expecting maybe to get a job is here every morning. And the earlier you get here, you can stake out your spot, and, more towards the front, like out here is kind of the best. The people that get stuck back here, they're in trouble because they're probably never going to be seen until things have thinned out. And by that time, there's not much left.
Especially not being behind my fat ass. So.
And that leaves one person that no one has any trouble being seen behind.
Nikolai, if at all possible, keeps his back towards the actual wall of the workers' wall. He glances around constantly, always checking and surveying everybody around him. He's kind of hard to tell. He's a dwarf, definitely. In the face, he's not as creased or as furrowed, but he's definitely dwarven. He's got him a nice, healthy, thick beard. He's currently clad in slightly baggy buckskin pantaloons. He's got knee-high, at one time glossy black boots that have like the folding, not a lapel, but you know what I'm talking about, where the folded flange around the top. He's got a dark crimson embroidered cotton woolen shirt, and over that's a equally ochre colored like flappy vest to go with the pants. And on top of his head, he's got an oshanka. His beard and mustache is not really groomed. It's kind of matted and cluttered. Looks like dirt. Definitely little clots of brown here and there. Looks like it's dried in various spots. But he's fidgeting around. He ultimately takes his oshanka off the top of his head, and the top of his head starting to sweat. And you notice that his head's shaven on one side, kind of similar to a Cossack. But he's just literally looking around, and he's got a very frumpy look on his face, like he's grumpy or always agitated. You don't quite know what, but by the way he looks around, it looks like he's pretty much agitated with everyone around him.
All right. Well, you all are standing there, and a couple of foremen have come by looking for people and have gone away with a few workers. The crowd is thinned out just ever so slightly, and of course, none of you were picked as per usual. And I'd say you've probably, most of you that have been here since the early part of the morning. It's a couple hours in, and the door to this tavern, the 10-tailed cat here, which is sort of a little bit of an upscale tavern. A man who some of you would recognize steps out, and he's he's with some other wealthy burgher, and the two of them are chatting. And this man, who is Captain Hallebeck, he's in charge of the town guard here. Or sorry, Sergeant Halleck. Bad. See him. And he's talking to this guy, and then he sort of says goodbye. And you can see he kind of stretches a little bit, and he has sort of an annoyed look on his face, and he starts heading over to the crowd here. And he's got kind of a perpetual sourpuss on his face as he kind of scans the crowd.
Have we seen him here before? Perusing
You have not.
Okay.
Although you saw him here a couple days with some of his city guard to break up a fight that broke out between a Kislevian and a Hochlander. The Hochlander, or the Kislevian, was accusing the Hochlander of stealing all of their jobs.
Oh.
And a fist fight broke out, and the city guard had to break it up. But he was not here to hire anybody. He was just here to break that up. He, of course, did not get his hands dirty. He watched as his men kind of separated everyone.
Is there kind of a reaction in the crowd once he kind of makes himself apparent? You know, is everybody kind of like,
yeah. There is some immediate concern.
Okay.
There have been hangings, and for disturbances of the peace. The town feels like it's almost a counter peg ready to blow sometimes.
Wow.
It's overcrowded. There have been riots that have had to been put down forcefully. The stocks are almost continuously occupied by somebody being punished for some minor offense. And the city itself has a long history of being one of the most litigious cities in the entire empire. They have buildings dedicated to storing the written laws that have been recorded over years, and the city guard are kind of infamous for arresting people that seem like they probably are doing something they shouldn't do, and claiming that there must be a law on the books somewhere to back it up. And so you kind of have to pay them off so you don't get arrested and have to go through a pretty awful court system. So yes, there is some trepidation as he kind of steps forward and looks through the crowd.
And as he steps forward and looks through the crowd, Andolph kind of gives Lucius an elbow, a nudge, which probably kind of knocks him off of his feet just a little bit, considering Andolph's size. He's a large man, both weight, probably closer to about 7 feet and almost 300 pounds.
Wow.
He gives Lucius a nudge, which kind of knocks him off to the side and says, "Well, there, Lucius, the stars went with someone else today. Not if he's shown up. No, it hasn't. Stars weren't looking favorably on someone. He's never a good sign when he shows up. Someone's in trouble." And he's pointing over to the captain there.
Lucius stumbles a bit, recomposes himself. "You and your stars, astrologer. No, but I must agree, if the sergeant is showing up to look upon this stock, and truly someone has found their doom, perhaps it will be us. I look forward to seeing what challenges Sigmar has for me today.
He surveys the crowd and says nothing. He's got his arms folded, and there's a silence that goes over the crowd. There's an expectation of, okay, what does he want? He's not and when his eyes scan across them and meet someone's eyes, they kind of shrink back a little bit generally. Most of them do. Some of them clearly have no idea who this guy is, so they don't even know to be disturbed, but they can see that he's creating something of a reaction. And he kind of clears his throat. Oh, did you want to say something?
I was just saying that Nikolai's demeanor, he would have been like leaned back with one foot against the wall, but when he realized that the crowd was reacting to someone approaching, he thought it might be a potential employer. So he quickly stomps his foot down on the ground and fidgets with his hat, puts it back on, steps forward. Then when he looks at the guy, he notices the grumpy look on his face, and he almost has a bit of respect in the back of his mind, because when it comes time and if in the event the dude scans him, Nikolai huffs out. He's kind of like a dwarven Steve Reeves. He's very husky and actually muscular. He'll actually puff himself out and meet the guy with an equally as stern look. But if he actually locks eyes with him or gives him a look, he'll give him a nod of consent, almost as if respect towards him.
All right, he clears his throat. And he says, I'm looking for someone who's worked for the town before. Anyone worked for the council? And a few hands go up. And they're obviously like day worker type people. And he just looks at them and he says, in an official capacity, not as some shit laborer.
Okay.
And they kind of look at each other, and their hands kind of slowly go down. Anyone?
Torin will kind of look around, and gulp, and then stride awkwardly forward, and he'll face the sergeant, and he'll kind of give his boot heels, an awkward like click click, and kind of stand at attention,
All right, he's looking at you appraisingly.
Okay.
All right.
Torin, my lord, of the Tanat merchant family, at your service. And he'll kind of.
He kind of spits on the ground and says, I ain't no lord. And he says, and neither are you by the looks of you.
Torin kind of
and
looks
he
hurt
says,
at that.
Yeah. He says, you're from a good family, you say? What are you doing here then?
These times are hard, and even I need to eat and take care of my equipment. I'm looking for whatever work that I can rustle up, I'm afraid. And that means ruffling soldiers with the likes of these lot around here.
He kind of nods at your spear and he says, you know how to use that thing?
Torin kind of looks at it like, oh, this thing? And he holds it forward and says, of course, yes, I've been trained.
He kind of frowns, a little sour frown, and he might have use for you then. And he kind of points his thumb over here.
Ouch. Okay. All right. So Torin will kind of actually look down at Nikolai and kind of grin like, ha-ha. And then he'll stride over to the wall there.
He says, anybody work for any of the noble families?
So Andolph, he's kind of looking over everyone's head and looking around, and finally he looks down at Lucius and says, well, maybe it was someone's doom. Well, I might have to step forward on this one.
Go with the gods.
That's not my day, though. And Andolph steps forward and said, I've worked in the walls.
What did you do?
Well,
Who did you work for?
I've done a little of this, a little of that. You know, I'm an astrologer. I read the stars. I tell them what they need to know.
His face kind of, if he could frown more, he frowns a little more. And you can see he kind of he gives a passing look of faint recognition. He said, "Thought I recognized that milky eye of yours. What's your name? You used to work for the Count, didn't you?"
Aye, that I did. Worked for the Count, and I still ended up outside these walls. I should be in there. I'm Andolf Strosin III. I don't belong out here. I do belong in there, though. If you're offering a job to get me back inside those walls, well, I'm your man.
He says, "It ain't nothing that glorious. But I do need a man who can read and who's used to giving orders."
Well, just ask Lucius here. I can give orders.
He kind of looks around despairingly at the rest of the crowd. Clearly, there's nobody else that is out of place as you are. So he just kind of resigns himself, and he says, "Fine, I guess you'll do." And he said, "I need 3 others." He says, "This man here will be working for you. Pick 3 more from the crowd. They need to look like they've got their head about them, can handle themselves, and can handle a crowd if need be.
Handle a crowd, you say?
Do a little babysitting, if you will.
And
And not afraid to go outside the walls."
Nikolai cracks his neck, rolls his shoulders, and clenches his fists open and close repeatedly.
And when he says not afraid to go outside the walls, because as he was starting to talk, a lot of the people kind of were starting to maybe edge and lean in a little closer and like, "Oh yes." And then when he says not afraid to go outside the walls, I would say about 75% of them back away.
so out of the ones that are still stepping forward or standing forward, Andolf is looking around. He's scanning the crowd, obviously standing, head and shoulders above everyone, just kind of looking down on the crowd. And he notices some large young guy in the corner, and he says, "Oh, I'm sure he can herd a crowd." You.
Looks like he knows how to herd some sheep, at least for his dinner.
Well, I've got no comment on that, but I know he can herd a crowd, that's for sure. And he points over at Francis and says, You want to make your way inside the wall?"
And Francis kind of looks around as if anybody you could see standing behind him you'd be pointing at. "Oh, me, sir."
Well,
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
yes, you. There's not too much that I can point to around you. Go ahead, come over here next to the wall, and then Andolf continues.
Halleck already seems to be a little disconnected from this now. Like you're rounding the people up. He seems disinterested. He's lighting up a pipe, just kind of looking a little bored.
Andolf continues to look over the crowd, and then looking down, he sees a very eager-looking dwarf standing there, very stern, almost flexing, as he's trying to make eye contact. Andolf kind of overextends his head to take a good look at him with his good eye, and he kind of looks him up and down and says, "A dwarf, you dwarf! Do you want a job?"
Nikolai just kind of looks up at you with a vague hint of, "Are you seriously asking me that question?" But he quickly lets the emotion drain away, and he goes as he responds. He's like, Da, da. Nikolai, I says, I stand in line many days. Hardly ever get picked. I do whatever's need to be done.
You can see a lot of the Kislevians in the crowd sort of nod approvingly, like they're happy to see at least a Kislevian got chosen.
Well, very good, dwarf. You come on over here. You stand next to these other gentlemen.
And Nikolai eagerly steps forward. As he steps forward, he's nodding. And to Andorf, or was the name Andorf? Andolf. And then over to the captain of the guard as he's traveling. He's like nodding. He's like, da, spasibe. And he goes, oh, bullshit, spasibe.
And then Andolf scans the crowd one last time and is kind of looking at everyone. And he sees Lucius looking at him, kind of like standing there with almost an eye roll on his face. And he looks at him, then he looks around him, and he looks back at him, and he looks at some other people, and he raises his hand as if he's going to pick someone else. And he's just kind of harassing Lucius, knowing that he's going to pick him. But the guy is such a sourpuss and so dour. He just wants to have him believe his own despair, and maybe make him think that he's not going to get chosen for a job. But in the end, he looks down at Lucius and says, "Oh, you know I'm going to pick you. Why don't you get over here too?"
And Lucius was probably just like blinking very slowly, recognizing exactly what sort of petty behavior that Andolf was engaging in. And my Sigma, I thought you were going to take all night. Goodness gracious.
Well, you know what this means, don't you? I told you the stars were aligned and we were going to get hired today, did I not?
You also said a few other choice things I won't mention in present company. I sort of scooch by him and stand next to the wall.
All right, Sergeant, very well. I think we have our men. These men will do nicely.
Kind of looks over your selections, and you can't tell if he's approving or disapproving. His facial expression does not change a whit. And he says, "Fine, then you lot come with me." And he starts leading you down the down the way he came.
Hey.
And he is leading you over towards the records office here. And this is where everyone has to go to get entry into the city. That's where they go to apply for their passes. And there is no fast lane. You stand in line. So I don't have the people here, but there are people outside the door winding probably way back to here. And it seems like they're going to be there quite a long time. The line does not move much. And he just kind of nudges people out of the way and goes inside and expects you to follow.
Okay. I'll gladly nudge as well. No problem.
And Francis kind of starts to nudge past, and everyone's like, wow, this is great. This big fat guy is just blocking up this whole door.
People actually have to move out of the doorway to give you, and they look very annoyed, and a fight almost breaks out to make sure that they didn't lose their precious place in line. And you get inside, and you can see that this guy here is clearly in charge, and he's got like a little scribe or someone sitting next to him at the table, busily writing away as he talks. And some of you may recognize this guy. He's the magistrate. He is he has been placed in charge of keeping order in this part of town, Talagad.
All right, I'll ask. How do you pronounce that last name?
Hochenloh.
Got it.
Right. And so, yep. Okay, so he's in the middle of telling someone that no one is being allowed inside the city unless they're on official business right now. Until the Countess issues orders to the contrary, no one is, will be given a pass. And so you can try again tomorrow. And the person said, I just waited in line and you told me to come back tomorrow yesterday. And he says, well, then you can come back tomorrow or not at your convenience. And he just looks at him, waiting for him to leave. And the guy just kind of gets frustrated and turns and leaves. And you see the sergeant kind of clear his throat respectfully. And the magistrate says, Sergeant, excellent. He looks at the five of you and he says, it appears you've had success this morning. And he says, yes, sir, good success. He says, I spent the morning scouring the city for the best men I could find. And he says, well done, Sergeant. He says, the men mostly look capable. And he says, who is in charge? And he says, that would be this one. And he points at Andolf.
And Andolf steps forward, and he says, "Oh, that would be me, sir. I'm Andolf Strossen III."
Did you say?
How may I be of service to you?
Did you say Stroheim III?
Strossen.
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 Yes. Ah, you're the Count's astrologer, aren't you?
Well, I was at one point. Yes, I was. I did not make that known. I wasn't going to throw his name around, especially in his absence. Not a good sign. Not a good sign at all. The stars. They tell me how to go ahead and progress with these things. And he sees him kind of getting annoyed.
Doesn't want to hear about your bloody stars.
Yes, he's getting very impatient. You can tell.
Oh yeah. Well. Anyway, sir. Yes, I found myself outside the walls, and today I found myself hired by the sergeant here. What can we do for you?
He says, I trust the sergeant has explained to you what will be required. And the sergeant says, they know enough, sir. They've all agreed. And he says, excellent. Then don't waste any more of my time, Sergeant. He says to his scribe, draw up the appropriate contract, and Sergeant, take care of it. And so you can see he is now done with you. And he kind of motions for the next person in line to come up. And the sergeant kind of edges his way over here and motions you all to come over to this side of the table. And the scribe starts asking you for your names, and he's furiously scribbling up a document, and he asks you for your names and writes them down one at a time at the top of the contract, and then has each of you come forward, and he says, you can sign your name or make your mark if you don't know how to write. And he puts the contract down in front of you. And I will share that contract for those of you who can read.
How do you determine that? Education?
Yes, if you have a rank in education, then you know how to read. If you do not have any ranks in education, you do not know how to read. So who steps forward first to sign and or read?
I'll mark it because I don't know how to read. Just put a symbol of a pyre on there and then walk off to the side.
He looks at your mark curiously but says nothing.
And then Andolph will step forward and he kind of reads it over while he's arching his good eye, his neck so his good eye is perusing the contract, and he's going yes, kind of rubbing his chin. Oh well, everything looks to be in order. And then he goes ahead and signs it with like a flourish while looking at Lucian, and he kind of smirks. And he finishes his name the third with a big flourish and looks at Lucian and hands the contract back.
Okay.
Francis will make his way up there. He sort of does a weird shimmy as he's making his way past everybody. His obvious girth being the issue there.
There are a couple of girthers here.
Yeah, you aren't the only one.
Right. And that's, I mean, coming in, and that's why I was like, if anybody's rubbing belly to belly.
I got you covered, buddy.
So he kind of looks through the contract, and he just nods agreeingly, and okay then, everything looks pretty good, I suppose. He goes ahead and writes his name down and sort of oddly shimmies his way back again and leaves the contract on the table.
Torin will lean his spear and his shield awkwardly up against one of the paper and book covered, I guess, tables or bookshelves that are in here, I guess.
Yeah, these are full of scrolls.
Yeah,
which you assume are legal records.
Yeah, and the shield kind of precariously kind of like balances on one corner of one of these shelves, and you kind of see it kind of like rock a little bit, and he kind of looks over at Andolph, and then walks over to the scribe and kind of looks and rubs the scruff on his chin, as if he's actually understanding what those written words mean, and then he nods his head and then puts his his double T mark on the bottom there. Looks good.
Looks good. Yep.
And then walks backs up to make.
Nikolai promptly answers when he's asked his name. He'll nod and he'll Minio Zavut Nikolai Rasputin Grigorievich von Talbheim.
Yeah, he needs you to say it 3 times before he can get it down as accurately as he can.
My name is Nikolai Rasputin Grigorievich von Talbheim. And when it comes time to sign it, he gets nervous internally because he can't read, but he knows about contracts before being in the circus life. So when it comes time to make his mark, he literally draws a bear paw symbol and then does his best to do an N. Though it probably comes like angular, almost like a Z.
Yeah. Okay. Everyone has signed or made their mark. So he pours some salt on the paper and brushes it off, blows it off, and hands it to the sergeant. And he says, you can take them over for their disbursement. And the sergeant just takes the paper and looks at it briefly and folds it and says, all right, you lot, come with me again. And he goes through the door.
And we follow.
And you can see, that you're getting curious looks from the crowd, but they're mostly just, where you can see the line has started to move a little fast because the magistrate's just getting impatient, and he's sped up his explanation as he turns people away. You have not seen it. And while you were standing there, you saw 4 people get turned down for passes.
How's the condition of the streets looking? Just the general, are things like in bad shape or?
They're in much worse shape than they were a year ago.
Okay.
There's a lot of garbage in the corners of the street. One of the things that they do occasionally hire for is people to come and clean. Is for people to clean the streets. That pays very poorly, but and they don't do it as often as people would probably like. It's pretty smelly here. There's almost a continual smell too of just like human sweat. It's the summer and it's hot, and it feels close and confining, and there's just a heaviness in the air all the time.
Ugh.
Yeah, as you're walking along, Lucius whispers to Andolph.
What exactly are we doing?
Well, and Andolph kind of kneels down somewhat as he's walking, leans over his side a little bit. Well, looks like we're going to be taking some refugees to Bright Black. Didn't you read the form?
I don't have a traditional education, Andolph. I was raised at a farm.
That's one of the reasons you're so depressed.
Yes, and your education has worked wonders for you, us being in the same position, hasn't it, Stargazer?
Well, and he kind of just brushes that off. In any case, we're going to Bright Black. We've got to take some refugees out there.
More people avoiding their eventual doom. Pitiful.
Well, looks like the stars are shining on them if we're in charge.
Ha! Keeps walking.
Did I overhear any of the conversation?
You probably did. Everyone's close.
Too close.
Too close.
Do you think they're prisoners?
Prisoners? Well, I don't know. The contract said we were moving refugees. Lots of wars going on around here. I bet there's lots of refugees. City's crowded. Nothing was said about prisoners.
What, they don't have legs or something? They can't move themselves?
Do you want this job or not?
Yes, well,
Yeah.
He'll just mutter, trying to self-justify. Go, they must be special.
Mm.
well, perhaps we're just muscle and we're just getting rid of them.
Either way, work is work.
The sergeant leads you in, and you can see when you walk in this room, there are a bunch of people sitting in the seats there, and some sort of judge-looking person at the front. And there is a dispute going on that this judge is trying to resolve. The sergeant completely ignores it and just goes to this door and knocks. And a voice says, "Enter." And he comes in and motions you to follow.
He wants all of us in there?
You don't know if he wants all of you. He just motioned to follow.
That's what Torrin says aloud. He wants all of us in there?
Yeah, that's getting really crowded. There's a guy behind the desk, and he just looks very dismayed at all these. And he says, "What are all these people doing in my office? Sergeant, get them out." And he says, well, they're here for a disbursement for a contract. He says, but they don't all need to be here. Surely they can elect a representative or something.
The tall one with the bad eye. There. I just waltz my way out.
Certainly, he'll do.
When he says that, Andolph kind of cranes his neck to look with his good eye.
And he just kind of stares at the dwarf and the other, and he says, well, you heard the man. Out. And the sergeant hands him the contract, and the the man scans it, and he says, yes, very, very good. And he turns to one of these chests here and opens it up and starts to take silver coins out.
Knew it.
And very carefully places them on the table and starts counting. And you see that he is counting out, he's putting them into piles of 15. Into 5 piles of 15, in fact.
Yep. Andolph just continues looking at him.
Mm-hmm. And then he takes the top 5 off of each stack and hands 3 and puts those in a pile, and then Halleck takes half and he takes half.
Wow.
And and he then he pulls out a sheet of paper and starts writing up a receipt, and he says, sign here to accept your pay.
Sign here to accept my pay. I have a contract that says we all receive 15 silver.
And you did receive your 15, did you not? And the
sergeant says 12 right here.
The sergeant says, I see 15 of them apiece there. You have a bad eye.
Well, once you pocket your share and he pockets his share,
they've already
I'm
done
counting
that.
12.
You're also a bad counter. In any case, are you signing the receipt or not? Or should I go find someone else to?
Oh, God. So Andolph kind of cranes his neck and gives them both the eye.
They did it so matter-of-factly, too. That's
brutal.
It wasn't even like, gee, should we? It was all automatic. He took a third off the top, split it with him, and that was. He didn't even look at you while he was doing it. He just.
So I've got to ask then, is this how it's going to go down when we complete the contract and we get our 80 silver? How much you going to take off from us then?
The sergeant kind of steps up to you, and you are a very tall man, but he's still kind of an intimidating person. Like he wants to tower over you, but he can't, right? But he's still an intimidating presence.
Can we hear Andolph's raised voice?
Oh yeah, the door is open.
Okay.
He didn't close.
Okay.
No one closed the door.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he said, "You'll receive your pay at the end, just like you received your retainer."
Mm.
He says, "If you've got a problem with that, then I'll find someone else. Now, I vouched for you, and I don't being made to look stupid. But if you're not the right men for the job," and he kind of looks out the door, and he says, "I don't know if they're too keen on you making a decision. They look like they want the work to me."
I nudge Nikolai, and I say, "What's going on in there?"
Nikolai kind of half turns. He's like, "Boss, sound like they squabbled over a payment. We not even do job yet."
And you can see the judge in the chair there says, "Keep it down over there. There's serious business going on here."
Very well then. It's a job. It's money. I'm not going to stop them from working. Won't be on my head, that won't be, no. Very well. And he
Says,
scoops up the
"Take-"
remaining money.
He says, take your stack. Yep. Okay. Yeah, he's fine with you scooping up the whole thing.
Is there anything else?
He just has you sign for it. And it says explicitly that you received the full payment. And the sergeant signs as witness.
Wow.
So
This is not I mean the city is so full of red tape
Corrupt.
and bureaucratic stuff, but yep, this is and the reason there's a need for the witness and the explicit is because this kind of thing obviously goes on, and so that has clearly stopped it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Andolph, he signs the form begrudgingly. He kind of is pushing a little harder on the form than he would normally push.
Don't break my nub, or you'll have to buy me a new one from your pay.
Well,
And he says, there is a law about breaking nubs. You will be responsible for it if you break it. That's city property.
I think I've already paid for your nub.
Very well. He takes the sheet and he looks at it satisfied, and he folds it up and sticks it in a drawer. And then he just kind of looks up at you like, why are you still here? And the sergeant starts to go out.
So Andolph gives him one more look with his good eye before he turns around and walks out.
All right. He seems unfazed, but although you can make an intimidation roll if you'd like to.
No, I won't.
Okay. Yeah, he doesn't seem fazed in the least. Probably more just irritated that you even made even spoke. And the sergeant leads you out of the building, and he said the good folks you'll be escorting out of the city are on the other side of the bridge. And he said, and as you walk over the bridge, he kind of explains a little more. And he says, some of them folks is all happy to be going. Some of them ain't so happy. I don't expect you'll get much trouble from the ones that want to go. Ones that don't want to go, you might get a little trouble from them, and that's why you might have to be a little rough if necessary. But you know from the terms of your contract, you're not to arm anybody. You're to make sure they get there. You're part of how shall we put it, a first try at this sort of thing. Countess don't want these people crowding up the city anymore. So in her infinite wisdom and kindness, she's decided to relocate them where they'll be happier. And you're all going to get them there. Safe and sound. Don't want any trouble. Don't make trouble, and don't put this whole effort in bad light. You're going to come back, and everyone's going to hear how great it was to go to their new home out there, out in the countryside. It's all safe now. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, Andolph, just kind of nods in the affirmative at everything he's saying. But as they're walking down the street and the sergeant is talking, he's kind of divvying up the silver and handing the 12 silver to each person.
That definitely gets some looks from the beggars and people on the streets that are like, they hear that jingle of coin, like they have special antenna for that sound. And so you see people kind of nudge over towards you and put their hands out like in a begging kind of and the sergeant just gives them the just that dead eye look, and they back away. And then he keeps talking.
Yeah, Nikolai quickly pockets his coin, looking at Andolph, kind of like, dude, why'd you hand it straight to me? He puts it in his coin purse and then flips the coin purse into the inside of his pants.
The judge ignored you, Torin, by the way. He just gave you one quick, irritated look. And
Oh, yeah.
So Halleck says, he says the condition of you receiving the rest of your pay, it depends on the letter that the priest of Tale's going to send back with you. He's going to write about how happy the people were when they arrived and in what great shape they were, and that the 2 cows the city's generous enough to send with them arrived in good condition, and all the people arrived, every head accounted for, 30 of them.
Well, we'll do our job.
Good, because you're representing the city now, and if we want this to continue, we don't want people getting scared. We don't want them saying, "Oh, well, they want to go sit in their little villages." They're going to go, and you're going to make sure that they get a good report. Right, I think I'm clear. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. And he just kind of strides ahead.
How 15 or 12 silver is
It's actually only 10. It
10
was
silver, okay.
15, and they took 5 off the top of each stack.
Okay. So
You ended up getting 10 silver.
Oh, I thought you said they took 3 off of the top.
No, they took 5 off the top, and then split that total between the 2 of them.
you were looking at that with your bad eye when that happened.
Yes, yeah. It all happened so quick. You probably did think it was 3, and then when you're going to hand everybody the money, you're like, wait a second. There's only 10 each here.
So realistically, I guess what I was really getting at is how far will 10 silver stretch? You know,
when you are poor and eating very little, it's not bad. That is not a bad way. You could expect, if you were going to get a job hauling crap for about 10 hours at the docks, you'd probably get half of a silver for that.
Okay.
Which would be
that's good then.
Yes, this is city pay.
Okay.
Now there has been massive inflation in Talagad right now because things are very bad. The fish, if you want to buy fish, the river has been fished to death since the arrival of all these people, and so the fish that are now being sold at the market are smelly. They're the dregs. Yeah, anything that's decent gets sold in the city of Talabheim for premium prices. Okay. I'm gonna call a quick bathroom break. Ghost needs to go to the bathroom, and I'm an old man who drinks a lot of iced tea. So yes, we will have a 5-minute bio break here.
Oh man. Quick pause on mine.
You fuckers better not.
Yep. I think so.
All right, excellent. So he takes you over the river to the north side of town, and you can see towards the outskirts, right near one of the gates that heads out to the north road. There is a group of a wide mixture of people of all ages, and a few women, mostly people that look like they are very poor. And there are a couple of cows that a couple of them are tending to, and a wagon that looks like a hand cart to be pulled, and it's loaded up with some supplies. And there are a handful of city guards, of watchmen, standing about watching them, kind of making sure they don't go anywhere. And as you approach, he says, "Here's your charges." He says, "Now," he says to Andolph, he says, "It's your contract, your job, so you do it the way you want." He says, "But I'll tell you now, getting to Bright Black, it might seem quicker to go the south route, but we've had reports from our patrols that there's greenskin activity down that way, and it's going to be a bit dangerous, I'd say. I'd recommend going the north. There hasn't been any reports up that way, and you might even get, if you do run into trouble, there may be some passing barges on the river. Might give you aid. But it's your choice." And he says,
yes, I'll discuss this with our group.
He says, "Fine." There they are. He says, "Hey, you lot." He gets their attention. He says, "This man here is going to be escorting you to your new home. I expect you to listen to him and do as he says. He's representing me and the city." He says, "And these 4 is his people. He gives them orders, they give you orders. No trouble, and you'll arrive just fine in your new home, and you'll get your little bennies. Right, any questions?" And he's mostly talking to them, but he also kind of looks at Andal. There's this one woman raises her hand, and she says, "How long away is this?" He says, "And can we ride on the cart?" And he says, "No one's riding the cart. That's for the stuff." And he says, "It should only take you 2 to 3 days." He says, "You're all capable of walking or you wouldn't be going. Any other dumb questions?" No one else seems to want to say anything. So he says, "Right, they're all yours, Andolph. Good luck. Make me proud." And he just kind of puts one hand on your shoulder. He has to reach up a little. He's not as tall as you, but it's not quite the effect he probably wanted. But
does he leave anything on that shoulder when he takes his hand off?
Oh no. Nothing like that. He does hand you the contract, though. He says, "This is yours." He says, "When you get back, come and find me at the barracks, and we'll settle your account."
Yes, well, I know what settling the account means. I'll see you there, Sarge.
Good to know. You learn quickly. Good luck. And he's done. He heads off.
So Andolph will kind of go to the other 4, and by now, traversing the area together, walking together, he would have fully read the contract to everyone so that they're all completely aware of what's in the contract, what it means, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So
Does everybody know what it is?
Torn raises his hand and goes, "Master Andolph."
No, please don't call me master.
Sorry, my lord. I mean, sorry. Doesn't it say, did the contract mention a different amount of coin?
Yeah.
Well, you know how contracts go. They're all, a little of this, a little of that. There's a lot of ins and outs and different things that happen. Yeah, well, in any case, what we have to do, and he goes on explaining again what we have to do per the contract, and kind of brushes over and glosses over the whole money portion of it.
Mm-hmm. Torn kind of nods, and then once Andolph is finished, he still kind of has this look on his face like, I don't know what the hell you just said. But he nods.
Nikolai nods as if he understands the meaning of the contract. he busies himself though checking the because he knows what it's like when the circus loads up and move out. So he'll actually go around the cart, kick its wheel, make sure it's secure. Actually look at the horses and kind of busy himself with that.
Oh, there's no horses.
Oh, there's no.
Someone gonna be pulling that thing.
What about
Cough,
the cow?
Nikolai.
There are
Cough,
two cows.
Nikolai.
The two cows. They're not the most exemplary specimens of cows, but they look like they'll do. They're not like about to die.
Yeah, patting them down and checking their hooves and stuff. See if they got.
Yes, the guy that seems to take special interest watching over them. He says, "Beautiful animals, are they not?"
They will do. Not bear or lion, but they will do.
He says, "I am Peter," and he puts out his hand.
Oh, you definitely. You just go. Oh, what time of day is it now?
It's early afternoon by the time you're over here and sort of getting ready to set out.
Oh, he'll definitely reach out and clasp his inside of his wrist with his hand. He'll go, Dobre din. I Minio Zavut Nikolai Rasputin Grigoroyevich von Dongheim. But you, and they'll punch him in the shoulder, like the front of the chest, and he'll go, but you can call me old Dungbeard. Aha!
He says, "All right, old dung-bearded." And he kind of sniffs your beard curiously.
I'd work with animals in the circus.
Yes, I've been to your circus. Very good, funny.
And his face will immediately, all the emotional drain, and he'll look like he's pissed and sad at the same time. It was nice.
And he starts going on of remembering some of the acts and telling you about his favorite ones.
He'll feign interest, kind of getting melancholy in what happened with the circus. I don't know if anybody else knew about that or not.
Maybe not.
No.
Probably not.
I didn't
Until
know.
you tell us.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to tell shit.
Let's push him until he does.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What? What's he talking about?
If you like, I lend hand with Cal.
He says, of course. You know animals. You're probably smarter than me with the animals.
I doubt that, my friend. I do what I can. You run into trouble, you'll find Nikolai.
Dada. Thank you, my friend. He puts out his hand to shake it again.
Spasiba. Shakes his hand back.
So how many people are there that were moving?
About 30 people.
There are about 30 people, and
Yes.
we're on foot.
Mm-hmm.
What does the group look like in general? Are they all adults? Are they?
No.
No.
There, 8 of them are children.
Ranging in ages.
The youngest is about 6.
Okay.
Most of them look like they're maybe in their 10 to 15 range.
Okay.
None of the kids are unaccompanied. They're none of them are like just standing there like waifs. They're all family. They're all part of a family. Although 2 of the families, it looks like it's just a woman and no man.
Okay, so Andolph turns to the group. He turns to the group and he's craning his neck to look at everyone with his good eye.
And they all kind of look at you expectantly, like you're the man in charge.
He said, "So it looks like we're your escort today, probably for the next few days. We're going to take you around to White Black. I think we're going to keep it safe since we've got young ones here. What say you folks? And he turns to his group of people. Torin, Nikolai, Lucius. Should we take the long way? Stay out of the way of greenskins, especially with these young kids.
The less greenskins we bump into, the better, say I.
We're all
Now, the
doomed
contract does say
anyway, but the north side sounds better for those who don't believe it.
Well, the contract says we have 4 days to do this. 4 days. We have cows and children. So taking the long way might cut it close.
The long way would be about a 3-day journey. The short way would probably be about a 2-day journey. That's assuming slow progress.
So we can make it in 3 days, but if anything holds us up, we don't have much wiggle room there now, do we?
Yes, but the contract also mentions something about protecting the refugees, correct?
Well, yes, that's correct. Not
So-
a hair on their head should be hurt.
Now, many of these folks, I don't think they look like they're capable of doing any fighting.
A
So-
couple of them look like they might.
Okay.
One has a hunting bow over his shoulder, and another one has a very nice looking longbow over his shoulder. But the man with the very nice looking longbow actually has a very vacant look about him. Not stupid, he just doesn't look like he's all there.
So that's 2 out of 30 that you're just mentioning?
Those are the 2 that are armed with obvious weapons.
But you say a few of them, maybe a handful, look like
yes.
they're capable.
Right. And then there is another man who he looks like a smith. So he looks strong.
Looks like the Incredible Ash.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And the guy with the hunting bow, that's that guy. Peter, he's carrying his little pitchfork kind of thing. He might be able to do something. And then there's this guy who he's Heinrich. He actually kind of looks like if you were eyeing the crowd and trying to pick out who might sort of in your absence have been in charge or kind of rounding up the group, or it would be this guy. He's got a walking staff, and you can see it has a metal shot at one end, and he has an experienced look about him. But yeah, those would be the people you would suspect who would be able to do something if things went wrong.
Okay. So, anyway, there looks like that might actually be useful in a fight. Now, I'm just thinking out loud when I say anybody that is willing to perhaps attack us on the road would probably be a large band. Are we going to be armed enough to fend off all of that if it should happen, if we go the shorter route?
Well, if we go the short route, I suggest we throw Francis in the mix there. Let him take them all on, and we all go the other way.
Well, excuse me for my humor, but I would suggest we start at the top of a hill and roll me down out of
Greenskins
Well-
won't need a large band to take on this rabble.
Yes, I'm afraid he's correct. And he looks over at Lucius. I think we should be going the long way. We do have children we do have to protect.
Yes, for as long as we're
so-
able.
Can't Andolph look in the stars, the heavens, and see what the proper route, the true way should be?
Neither of his eyes are very good.
Well, I'll tell you what. Tonight, when the stars are out, I'll take a look.
Quick question. It says 4 days time. Now, is that there and back?
No.
Okay.
Well, you didn't ask that clarifying question, did you?
Yeah, that's no.
Well, you would have to assume it's there because there's no humanly possible way that you would get them there in 2 days and get back in 2 days.
I mean, have you
and
seen
still
my...
have time to? You maybe could, but that would be a ridiculously quick pace. Right?
Have you seen my figure? I think I could do it.
Yeah.
So, Andolf, noticing Heinrich and him looking somewhat stoic and like he's someone who knows something about this group, approaches Heinrich and says, "Oi, my name's Andolf. I'll get your folks to where they need to go. I just need to know. Or these young ones, these older ones here, can they keep pace?"
Heinrich says, "I think they will have to, won't they?"
Well, very well, because I believe we're going to take the long way around. We're going to head north. Don't want us running into any greenskins. Don't want to put you or your young ones at risk.
He said that would be preferable. He says if things get very bad, he says as we deplete the wagon, perhaps there will be room for children on board if necessary.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing. You see that short, stocky one there? And he's pointing over to Nikolai.
Aye?
He's going to take the lead on those cows there. Apparently, he has some training with animals. So we're going to go ahead and let him do that.
So good.
Anyone else in this group that we should be aware of, be wary of?
Be wary. Well, I don't know all of them personally.
Well, very well.
He says I have only met these people today.
I see. I thought maybe you all traveled together.
He says, no, I know Reggie from before a little bit, but he is the only one.
Very well. Well, let's get them all together and get moving.
All right, yeah, and you see Regimius kind of come up next to him. He kind of wants to be included in the big talk there, but he doesn't say anything. And he just says, "So what were you talking about?" And they go off and talk. And Heinrich says, "All right, everyone, our leader says it's time to go. Gather up the children." And everyone starts kind of gathering up their things, whatever they're taking in their satchels and packs and so on.
Nikolai starts trying to assist by herding like animals pretty much. He's like, "Da, get in line. Elderly and women and children, herd yourself around the wagon. Everyone else flank either side of them. No one dallies behind."
They all respond. You can make a persuasion check. I would like to see how well you do on your first impression. And also, you spoke to them, Andolf. I would like a persuasion from you as well for your speaking, whether you made a forceful impression. It didn't sound like you were trying to be intimidating, although if you like, you could do it. You could do intimidate, leadership, or persuade. Really, it's up to you.
Okay.
You're basically bossing the people around, or establishing your presence as someone to be listened to.
Don't see a persuade.
Not so much.
See a persuade on.
Oh, maybe it's I get my games all mixed up here.
I was like, don't you have to roll under?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Yeah. Charm. That doesn't sound right in this case, though. Yeah, I guess it would be intimidate is really what you're trying to do, or leadership.
Yeah, I would probably lean toward leadership, wouldn't you?
But leadership is a specialized skill. So if you don't have training in that, then you're probably
Do it.
I'm culling them like animals. That's Nikolai. That's all he knows.
There you go. Well, see, that's the thing, because the leadership failed because you didn't have any ranks in it.
Oh, I don't have any ranks in it? I thought that bonus 2 was the ranks.
No, that's that's the basically 1/10 of your.
You'd have to have a red dot in it.
Yeah. If the leadership said 10 next to it, that shows you get plus 10 from leadership training.
So are they kind of lollygagging around? Or
no, I mean, but Nikolai succeeded. He's
Okay.
getting them all kind of in line. He's done this. It looks like he's done this kind of thing before, of like, hey, everybody get in line. Let's go, kind of thing. And he actually seems to have an aptitude for getting this thing organized really quickly.
No time for questions. You heard me. Get there. You, that's your mother. All right, you stay. You there. You there. Oh, God, this one I do not know. He's too old. Oh.
Leave him for the wolves.
So, all right. So it sounds like you head out from the city gate. There are not many people going in or out of the gate these days. There used to be lots of influx, and now the people that were coming have pretty much come, and very few people ever leave the city. It just still feels a little too dangerous for most folks. So you guys go out and you get on the northern road that goes along, and here is sort of a representation of the road as you go along, and the river, which is quite a bit wider than it appears on here. But how would you like to arrange yourselves as you travel along? This is sort of a representative sampling of the people that are particularly of interest, and I'll just share those folks with you.
You said we're supposed to be signed off on by a father so-and-so. I'm assuming he's at Bratbalat and not
Yes,
with us?
yeah, he's not in this group. No, they don't know who that is. If you say, like, is there a father so-and-so, they all kind of look at you like, who?
I didn't see Helen Keller. All the other Kellers are here, though.
We don't want.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, well, she didn't see you either. So
That would be bad omen. Right?
When he runs up, puts her fist under your palm and starts going, sorry, I'm late.
yeah. Yeah. So right now it's kind of assumed that old Peter is going to haul this cart along. He seems to be fine with that. And Alexei, the smith, seems to be happy walking next to him. And if he needs, help, he'll take one of the what do you call it, on the cart, and he'll help pull it along.
Yeah. In all honesty, Nikolai could really care less about any of the humans.
It's
Mhm.
him and the cows, huh?
Yeah, so but he does like the idea of being in the front, so he will.
I hope we don't get short on food supplies, because we're gonna
Is that-
get a rude
is that-
awakening.
Is that a short joke?
If we run out of food in 3 days, I'm very disappointed.
Hey, look who's bringing up the rear. Yeah,
Yeah.
it could happen, you know.
You might not like Nikolai if he'll start eyeing the cows like they were steaks.
Yeah. They're hoping they'll hit a bump and food will fall out of the back
Yeah.
of the wagon. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's why we're back here.
that's exactly right. Yeah,
Yeah.
we got it covered.
All right, cool.
Is that chocolate or poop?
Yeah. Does it matter really?
What's that he said up front? We're being attacked. Oh, look, an apple.
An apple?
Right.
Sorry, fruits and veggies are not part of my diet.
Yeah.
So Andolph places himself in the middle of the crowd here. By now, everyone has noticed, probably immediately noticed. I didn't mention this before, but he does have a slight limp from a clubbed foot. It's not horrible, but it does cause him to limp
Nice.
somewhat. So you were probably all not mentioning it just to be nice.
No staff or anything.
Oh,
Or he doesn't-
I'd rib you constantly for it. Oh,
Yeah,
just one more
so-
advantage the common man has over you.
So he uses his staff really to help him with his balance and everything while he's walking and craning his neck so he can see straight ahead.
He's gonna need a chiropractor.
Yeah, Lucius would be at the forefront, and on occasion, in slower parts where we're coming around, we've got full straight ahead, and there's nothing, around. Lucius will turn around and obviously speak words of encouragement to all these fine people about about how they should take heart that though their doom approaches, they'll be going to such a wonderful place to spend the rest of their miserable lives.
Wow. Enjoy.
Ooh, why don't you, let's see, you should make a roll of some type there.
I can leadership it.
See- Yeah.
And then it depend.
That
I'll
sounds
go
more
into.
intimidating.
No, it's not intimidating. I'm not trying to hard eye somebody. I'm just telling them the truth as I see it.
That's right.
Oh, good. I'll still go into what I would have said if you want.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, you still
Oh,
say
perfect.
it. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Lucius would, as we're going down the straightaways, ah, yes, all of you in tow, all of you so unaware of how misery approaches from the north even now, but you should all take heart, each and every sodden soul, for even though your doom approaches, you go to such a wonderful place to spend your final days. Indeed, I have heard such great things about this, what was it called again, Nikolai? Breitbart, yes. We are going to such a wonderful place, this Breitbart, and you shall all be so happy there. Take comfort in the warmth you shall feel before we are all ran down by the horrors that exist outside of these city walls. And then you just turn around as nonchalant as can be.
There's a lot of looking back and forth at each other in the group, and some concern, and one of the little kids just starts crying.
And that's when Andolph will just kind of say, "Oh, pay him no attention. He's of sour countenance. The stars have aligned to help us get to where we need to go. You're all going to arrive safe and sound. I've seen it. I've seen it just as surely as the sun sets and the sun rises. That's the biggest star that I can see right now, and it's showing us the way we need to go. We're going to get there. Don't you worry, little one."
All right, try a charm roll. It sounds like you're trying to be nice
I hear that.
and reassuring. Let's see if you can. All right, you you calm the kid down surprisingly, and the others seem to be reassured. You are the guy in charge of all, and you're speaking with authority. So they seem to be happy to just discount these doom-filled words.
Yeah, Nikolai is just kind of like, he said, "You need to cool your tongue there, Naysaya. Says, else one of these probably cook it in the pan for dinner." He just looks around at the others and rolls his eyes when both sides are talking. He goes, "If only they move their mouths as fast, as quick as if only they move their feet as quick as their mouths." He'll grab the cow leash with one hand. It looks like a spear, but a closer look, it's actually forked like a Y at the top, like a prod. It's been like fire hued and sharpened down. He's got that walking. And if it helps lighten the mood, he'll start singing eventually in Russian. Or Kislevian.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And Francis, the pastries my mom used to make for us. Make what?
Please, please. I must meet this woman. At some point in time, I must meet this woman at some point in my life. I cannot believe the stories you tell me. Not only does my mouth water, but my stomach rumbles.
Is that what that was? I thought it was the cart.
It may have been flatulence as well. I'm not entirely sure.
Two big boys bringing up the rear talking about food.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they got to keep staring at that cart. Do either of you try to help yourselves, or are you gonna be well behaved?
At this point, I think Torn's okay. We've just started, so he's trying to be well behaved right now.
All right.
At this point.
If I made would that pertain to like willpower?
If you wanted, yes, your willpower.
Just to determine whether or not, I want to do it.
Your willpower is probably the most relevant attribute here, as to you want to, but you don't.
We're gonna give her a roll.
Jeez.
There you go.
There you go. Very nice.
I don't want to. I guess.
You could even do resolve too, which is built up, and if you you can learn to be more self-controlled. Resolve is like your self. You did just fine, so you're being a good boy. Good for you.
Wow. First time.
Yeah.
First time. You just see me, or rather, you see Francis's hand slowly starts to creep forward, and then his other hand comes along, slaps it. Oh. He's kind of chewing his knuckles.
It's still early in the day, my friend. First breakfast will be upon us shortly.
Yes, but everything looks so good.
You see that Alexei the smith, you're not sure. I mean, he tends to look back every once in a while, and you're not sure if he's keeping an eye on you or not, or whether it's just, he just looks back every so often.
Mm-hmm. I'll give him a smile and a wink, because I'm assuming he's checking up on us.
He smiles.
Oh, okay, all right.
And he kind of does a friendly nod.
Okay, all right. I nod back at him and kind of raise my spear at him, and as if to kind of salute him back, and then kind of beam at Francis and nod at him because we've got it back here. Everything's under control.
And Francis kind of nods his chubby face, and as he does, you see his neck's kind of rippling as well.
All right. Well, as you walk along, most people are pretty quiet. The only one that never seems to shut up is this woman, Ebore. Here, she just can't stop talking, and she talks about what seeing there. You pass a barge on the river, and she has to talk about the barge. The cow dropped a poop, and she for the next 2 miles she goes on. She keeps mentioning how she had to step around that poop. Good thing she stepped around that. Good thing I saw it. Good thing I didn't step in it. And her sister just goes, and she tries to engage you in conversation, Nikolai. And she talks about, hey, you're a strange little one. I'm sorry. Can you speak in regular people talk? She just kind of looks at you and shakes her head and says, I think you're talking midget or something. And she just kind of ignores you from then on.
Just saying, excuse me, I don't understand.
She's fine. She finds someone else to pester. And when you start singing later, most of the people seem, fine with it and smile. This guy here, though, he does not like it at all. You can just see he's irritated. And he listens to it, for a mile or so, and he has a sudden idea, and he just kind of turns around and he says, if there is danger out here, they're going to hear us coming miles away. I don't think it's a very good idea to be singing your foreign songs.
Foreign. He had to word it like that.
Would you still feel that way if they were not foreign songs?
He says, look, I like singing as much as the next man, of course. But, we have a job to do here. We're going somewhere, and we don't want to call attention or trouble to ourselves.
You have a job.
Am I not right?
We have a job. Your job is to walk. Our job is to protect you while you walk. If the Kislevites dwarf wants to sing or prance or whatever he does, he's protecting you. Let him do what he wishes. Or you can take it up with him.
He kind of frowns at you, but he doesn't say anything.
Nikolai will just kind of deadpan him. He understands what he's getting at. And he'll ultimately just relent, and he's like going, there's all this time talking. My song, I think. I apologize. Let us keep up, though. We have much distance to travel.
So he doesn't say anything. He doesn't even look at you in the eye.
Yeah, he just got put in my book, by the way.
Yeah. A few minutes later, when it seems like things calm down, though, he does, as they're walking along, he does kind of lean in to Heinrich there, and you can see him kind of grumbling under his breath to Heinrich. And Heinrich just seems to, he politely just sort of, but he doesn't say anything. And eventually he just sees he's not really getting much. But it doesn't stop him at first, but then eventually he just stops. He runs out of steam. And the rest of the day kind of passes fairly calmly. There's no real major incidents, and it's starting to get a little dark, and a good time to make camp. So any special plans for that or anything?
So Andolph relays that information. Okay, we're going to stop here for the night. These cows need to rest, and it looks like these children need to rest too. Everyone, go ahead and make a camp. We're going to all gather together camp together here. And he's kind of like pointing to a small clearing near enough for water, but not so close to the water that anyone's going to get wet or anything or fall in the water.
Yeah.
But something like this area here. And
Yep.
he's gonna ask Nikolai to take care of the cows. He's like, "Boy, can you take care of the cows?"
Nikolai nods. He's like, da. So it might even be best if we put 2 animals next to food cart. That way we all got one thing.
Very good. Well, let's do it then. We'll put the food cart in the middle. We'll put the cows next to the food cart, and we'll put the people around all of that, and then we'll stay on the outside of that. How's that sound?
Sound good. I even hobble cows so they know roam.
So Andolph will go ahead and he'll go to Heinrich and tell him the plan, and tell a couple of the others the plan. Tell everyone. Basically, he's just letting a few people here and there know how to gather and where to gather.
Yep. So they start setting up camp, and people actually kind of naturally select themselves out based on whether they're Hochlanders or Kislevians or native Talabhekians. And so you end up with kind of 3 clumps of you're a big camp kind of, but it's actually looks more like 3 little camps. The way that they sort of naturally organize themselves.
We need a fire.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah. As Nikolai is taking care of the cows, Andolph will go to Torin and Francis and say, "Can the 2 of you start a fire?"
Ooh, I look at Francis and say, "Without a cook?"
Oh,
Well, we can't cook any meat until we've got a fire going, can we?
yeah, I suppose. Well,
I'm no woodsman.
Aren't you 2 getting paid just like the rest of us?
yeah, I suppose. Well, I don't know it. I don't know if my skills are really.
I hold up my shield and hold up my spear and go, I don't see a woodsman's axe here.
And Andolph's just kind of rubbing his forehead.
And Lucius would walk up and,
What
exactly are you all discussing?
I'm trying to get these 2 to start a fire, and between the 2 of them, they can't even create a spark.
Oh, what? How are the 2 of you men of the road who do not know how to start a fire?
Well, look at them. Doesn't look like they do too much walking on many roads.
They eat a great deal. You must have a fire to cook meat. What is this madness?
Well,
Men have become soft. I will attempt to make the fire.
Oh,
that's no trouble.
for
You're really good at
Pyre?
fire.
Is it Pyreheim?
Its own name.
Well,
Exactly.
I suppose would you like me to maybe pick up a few? Or
Yes, go pick up some sticks or something. He just waves his hand over. Bring it here, and don't put it all on at once, or you'll smother it. We must feed it continuously throughout the night. That is how you have a slow burn.
Right. Whether it be wood or heretics.
so make his way over to this tree area, bring you some sticks.
Mumbling to himself.
I imagine that since we have apparently split off into 3 groups of morons, we must have 3 separate fires. Would that be correct, my milky-eyed friend?
Well, I'd like to bring these groups a little closer together, make it more one group. You,
They
Torin,
don't seem to want to do that.
Torin, can you make sure that they do that, whether they want to or not? We've got to keep this group close together for their safety.
That I can do, but who's gonna cook?
Oh,
I will cook the food. Move your trundling self and move these idiots.
There are already.
I looked at his pasty complexion.
There are already women in the group that have already assumed that that they should
their
start
thing?
food right away.
Okay.
As soon as camp starts getting set up, that's one of the first things they do is that they start preparing to cook for everyone.
All right,
They just know that's their lot. That's what
I'll
they do.
go through the groups, starting at the folks that are kind of like at the perimeter, and before they start getting too comfortable and everything, I'll start basically kind of brusquely kind of telling them, no, you've got to get up and you've got to move tighter. And basically I'll do that by kind of like rudely tapping them with the haft of my spear,
Yep.
and kind of hurting them tighter that way, kind of ignoring their gunshots.
They've already started setting up their tents. Make it intimidation. roll.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there
Yeah,
any
that-
way to? Is there any way to?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you've got to. So you can add 10 when it wants you for modifier. Go
Okay.
ahead and add 10.
Do I have to actually add a plus or just 10 in there?
Just put 10 in
Just
there.
10? Oh, okay.
It assumes plus unless you put a
My
minus.
situation, okay, my modifier. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh wow! Look
Oh
at that.
no.
You're actually intimidated.
They're just they just kind of they say, look, we're exhausted. We just spent the day on the road. We've already set up we're already setting it up. We're not going to uproot and move it just to move a few yards. We're not that far from there. We're fine. We're fine.
I say, well, when you wake up in the middle of the night and that wolf's breathing down the back of your neck, explain it to them that way, and they'll understand. And I move on to the next group and the next.
Yeah, you're not getting very far with these people.
Okay.
It's like a couple of them sort of do a token. They hadn't gotten very far, so they kind of move a little closer.
Kind of scooch a little closer.
And they're like, but now we'll be far away from the fire because they're already starting to get they just make all kind of excuses, and you can see a lot of them. They just don't want to be next to the other people.
Yeah, and I mean, Torrin's a young guy anyway, so they're probably not. They're like, what does this kid know? Okay.
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Are you angry now?
I don't know if you heard anything I said.
Probably not. I think we.
No, we didn't hear anything.
I was gonna say when was it Torn or whoever said he was gonna try to get him closer?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, is there any way to assist or anything, or even try it myself?
I don't think it would have
basically what would have happened is you can roll an assist die, and if that's only assuming that you have a skill rank in Intimidate. If you have skill ranks in Intimidate, you can do that. And you do not. So he's kind of on his own. But if you have at least one skill rank in a skill and it makes sense, you can assist somebody, and then you roll. It's a 10-sided die. And basically when you assist, if the result you get on your 10-sided die is better, then you use that as the 10s digit for the roll.
So because everybody was kind of comfy and getting all settled in, and otherwise, that's why I had the modifier.
Because you got a bonus. It's because
that was a bonus.
Because you're a guy. You're supposed to be sort of in charge, and you add it increased your rating temporarily. It went from a 50 to a 60, and you still.
Okay, that was a horrible roll.
Just rolled.
It's just a bad roll.
Okay.
They're just not really. in the mood.
So Andolph, he's looking around and he still sees the group of three, the three separate groups. Then he looks down and he sees the pile of twigs Francis brought over as firewood. And he just kind of shakes his head and holds the bridge of his nose and looks down, leans on his staff, and says, Lucius, we've got some work to do, old friend. We've got some work to do.
Well, I brought over an entire faggot of wood.
Yes, I see the branches and the twigs you brought over. I bet you worked up an appetite doing that, didn't you?
Well, I mean, it is getting close to supper time, so...
Go grab.
It's past supper time.
It's way past.
Go
supper
grab
time,
more
yeah.
sticks.
Well, it's not exactly like I have a lot to work with out here. I mean, a little tree there. I mean, I'm not going to exactly cut down a whole tree. What am I supposed to do, bite it?
Yes. And he just looks at you dead serious. No, he must have some sort of axe or something. If not, just grab some more sticks. And yes, Andolph, I'm afraid that there is much to do, but not much to do about it. I'm just making the fire.
Poor Francis is gonna get attacked by wolves and pulled away.
No.
They're going to go...
Gonna take a whole pack to do that.
Oh yeah, but they'll be eating all summer.
Yeah, that's right.
It's worth the effort.
I'd be screaming from the weeds, help! They'd be like, sorry, dude. You're kind of keeping the wolves at bay right now.
I'll go around and start distributing some of the twigs. And this is nature's bounty. Do not squander it.
They just look at you like, yeah, like, who is this guy?
And Andolph will kind of follow behind him, trailing, maybe 10, 15 feet behind him as he's walking. And he's following up with, the stars will be out tonight. We'll get to see our good fortunes, get to see them face to face. Kind of trying to undo everything he's doing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Okay.
All right.
Nikolai, I was about to say, Nikolai, like I said, he'll protest about it. He'll be like, "Niet, this all wrong. They're too close together."
No, you're okay, Francis. You can gather wood. It just takes a little while.
You hear that,
'cause
guys?
You don't really have a proper tool to do it with. It just takes time. But you can roll survival to see how impressive you do if you want.
Yeah, why don't the two of you out there looking for wood roll survival?
And of course, if you fail, you die.
Fell into a wood pile, conveniently placed as punji sticks.
Woo! Look at that. Nice.
Don't those flip though?
Yeah.
He's over
Francis is
backflips.
rocking it. Rocking it.
Is there any way Nikolai can go looking for some root vegetables or even maybe see if any alfalfa grows nearby?
Sure.
Yeah, I was reading it's like a +20 for roots and vegetables or roots and berries.
Yep.
All right, so Francis brings over another faggot of sticks.
Yep.
In the meantime, and he really is literally chewing on one of his pieces of wood that he's brought back. Hey, you like that? I tell you.
I'm just gonna deadpan stare at him and just not say anything.
Yes. All right, Mr. Astrologer, if you like, you can make a navigation check to gaze at the stars as they come out if you'd like.
Oh, yes, I'll do that. My navigation, I get a +20 on my roll.
That's correct, Doc.
Okay.
Sorry, your question, if only the starred ones flip if no training, correct. Yeah. That's the difference.
Now, is that 20 already accounted for?
Oh, which 20?
Anytime the stars are out and I roll a navigation, I get a plus 20.
No,
for,
you need to add that.
Okay.
Yeah. Hmm.
Well, I guess it wouldn't be situational.
Yeah. And anytime you roll doubles, that is a critical success or critical failure. So you rolled a critical success with a 66. So you have a very strong feeling. And you see in the stars that I'm gonna whisper to you what you see in the stars.
So with different campfires going, kind of glowing, Andolph is looking up into the sky, and he's kind of muttering to himself, and he says, "Oh, I see good things. I see many good things in our future." He's probably talking to some kids.
Stranger danger.
So Andolph, noticing the kids are like hanging on his words, he kind of half-heartedly chuckles. "Oh, nothing to worry about. I promise you we're going to get you where you need to go. I just see good things in the stars for all of you little ones especially. You're going to be happy when we arrive to Black. You're all going to have fun little places to live, food to eat. Your mothers and fathers are going to have jobs, and you're all going to be happy."
Food in my belly.
Aye, even you, food in your belly. Enough food to one day you're going to look like these two.
He smiles and claps
Thorin
his
and
little
Francis.
hands together.
Clueless.
I like food, Mummy.
And then Francis, he gets up from the campfire, and he walks over to Nikolai, and he whispers to Nikolai, "We've got to set up a guard tonight. Let's be on our guard. Keep an eye out. We don't want anything bad to happen." And he kind of makes the rounds to the rest of the group and lets them know the same.
Okay. Is anybody organizing a watch of some kind? Or are you going to leave it to them to figure it out?
I'll take first.
Did-
I'm not tired.
And I will ask the what to call it, the smithy.
Yep.
I'll ask him if he wouldn't mind helping to organize a watch amongst the people that he thinks also might do well as Chuckles over here. These two.
Yep. He nods. Says,
Alexi
will be happy to organize watch for you. Very good.
Very good. You are a good man.
Yes, very good man. Try to be very good man.
I nod at the blank-faced archer there and say, obviously he's a bowman. His eye's good. He should be on the watch.
And his wife says, she says, you hear that, Matthias? They need you to protect us. You should take a watch. And he just he's sitting at the fire, and he just is staring into the fire.
Into the fire. Okay. All right, I'll
And she just kind of smiles at you helpless.
yeah.
Just kind of says, I'll talk to him.
Okay. Who'll take second watch?
That would be me. I probably not get much sleep tonight anyway.
Okay. And I'll take third. And that should be it.
Okay. So, Alexei organizes one person per watch as well.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, the Matthias just is unresponsive.
Mhm.
And of course, this gets Regimius all, his panties are all in a bunch now. And he's saying, if I have to watch, then why doesn't he have to watch? It's not fair. He has a good weapon. His weapon better than mine, and he's not going to do anything.
No.
So if I sit and stare in the fire, I get to do nothing?
And
Oh, well, if you sit and stare into the fire tonight after that display, then you don't get to eat. Maybe that's what we should do.
What are you talking about not eating? I'm doing my job. I'm going to take a watch like a real man.
Bellyaching about
Maybe-
doing your duty is not being a real man. I will attempt to inspire this pale-faced, dead-faced one.
He says, good luck with that. He's obviously lazy.
That is not what I think it is. But you may keep your opinions.
Yet this one, he look like a refugee to me. Probably seen something horrible. Best to leave him be and let his wife and children take care for him. I stand double watch if I have to. He'll just like stare at, what the hell's his name? Regimus?
Regimius, yeah.
Does double watch equal double meals?
He says, well, if the little man wants to do double watch, that makes one watch. Okay, fine.
Nikolai, I'll just gruffly just go, I do watch with you even.
He just slumps back in front of his fire.
This could go bad, but why not? Lucius will attempt to go speak with the gentleman who is rather dismayed, it seems, looking at that fire.
Mm-hmm.
I'll sort of saunter my way over and then just, whether they've got like a tree limb or something they're sitting on, just try to position myself sitting next to him.
Okay.
Good evening.
He,
Speaking to everyone.
Yeah. His wife and children, the wife says, good evening to you. The children just kind of stare at you. You can see they're a little afraid of you. And she says, children, be polite. And they say, hello.
It is all right for them to be afraid. I have a very scary personage from time to time, I know. But the fear of my appearance is nothing compared to what this soul has seen, I imagine. I'm just looking at him and turn and look at him.
Mm-hmm.
And his name, let me get his name here. Matthias.
Yes.
Matthias. I have spoke to many a man about doom and things that are foreboding, that shall be, that will be. But I rarely look into the face of one who truly understands. Now, I can understand your desire for inaction. Believe me, many ascribe to the same sort of sensation when they have come to grips with whatever catastrophe that you have seen. And I have seen such horror myself. But we are not to be consumed by our doom so easily, no. Even if it seems inevitable. We are men of Sigmar, men of Ulrich. We do not shirk away from the horrors that plague us. What you are doing now, Matthias, you are doing a disservice to not only your country, your family, but also your gods. So I ask you, Matthias, to look within yourself and face the perils of this world and the dooms that approach as a man. That is what we will require as we make this journey. Put my hand on his shoulder. What do you say?
Okay. You can attempt a charm check, but you'll have to take a -20 on that.
Sure.
As good a talk as that was for a doomsayer.
Yeah, it wasn't very doomy.
Bam.
It wasn't as...
It was.
Oh, look at that. You got a 9. There's a glimmer of acknowledgement in his eye, and he actually kind of turns and looks at you for a minute, and you can see for the first time you've seen him kind of focus a little, and he kind of focuses on your eyes, and his eyes kind of look into yours. And you see a very deep despair in him. But he just kind of, after a minute, he just kind of looks away and stands up and just grabs his bow and just kind of, without a word, just kind of walks away from camp a little bit and looks like he's standing watch.
And I would nod. He's a good man. You're a very lucky family. I would stand up and walk away.
Nikolai would be like, "Tight your blood. It actually worked."
And I would nod to Nikolai. Sometimes a man needs a good talk about bad things. Go to take my watch.
All right, I'm going to have to call a quick bio break here. We don't have too much time left in any case, but I am going to take a break here. And with you returns the sun.
Good.
Actually, the only incident after that in the evening is, Regemius sees that he's standing there, and you see he's kind of annoyed by that. And he kind of makes the comment, can he even keep a good watch? He's just standing there like a wooden man. And Heinrich just kind of says he's doing his part, be quiet. And that kind of seems to shut him up. And the night passes. And in the morning, everyone's accounted for. Everyone seems healthy and had a decent dinner. And they are ready. It takes a little bit of work getting them to gather up and move along.
First light.
Yeah.
Well, we should be off as soon as possible. Everyone, gather your things. Let's get moving. We've got 3 more days to get there.
You heard the man. Roll up your pallets and let's make haste. We have much distance to travel still.
All right. And their mood seems to be a little more cheerful today as a general thing. The first day was fine. Nothing bad happened. No fights broke out. And they ate reasonably well. I assume you're being, with the food, I assume you're not being very skimpy with it, or am I incorrect?
Normal portions, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, you can see how much there is and, kind of calculate what you would need.
Whatever's fair for 3 days.
To get them there, and Yeah, and maybe have some for you to come
More
back
back.
with.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it's not a super generous amount, but it's maybe surprisingly not that skimpy, considering it's provided by the city.
Yeah, you don't have to work for 12 hours to get it other than walking.
Yeah. Yep. So you move along the road, and by about midday, who's in the lead?
I would again.
Yeah. I would like to attempt a what is it? An awareness roll. Nice. Okay. You're walking along the road and you see further up on the road there are you see it's a group of 3 men just kind of standing by the river, and at first they look like an odd collection of people, but it doesn't take you long to notice that the scale of these people is way off, and they're actually large men, like toweringly large.
Full stop! And then put my hand up. Andolf, limp your way up here, please. I must show you something.
So Andolph kind of shuffles his way up towards the front, kind of, again, craning his neck so that he can see with his good eye, kind of limping with his bad foot. Well, what is it?
I'd sort of guide him and put my hand on his shoulder and look with your good eye there. Follow my finger. See? The 3 rather large individuals there by the bank. Rather big for regular men, don't you think?
What is all commotion? Why do we stop?
I'll point it out to him as well. Point over there. Look! See the rather large ones? Bit large for regular men of the Empire. I have some theories.
So I'm straining to look, trying to decipher who or what they are. Can I try and do that?
Sure. Make a scrutinize check for me. You are quite certain that these men are ogres.
Oh.
Not that that is inherently alarming. Ogres are an acknowledged part of the empire, and in fact, many of them serve in the imperial military.
They also have big fat bellies that love to eat.
They do.
So Andolph turned to them. Well, with my one good eye, I can tell those look like ogres. Do I notice any kind of, like livery, anything? Are they wearing anything that's that I can, determine whether it's like coat of arms or?
You don't see a coat of arms, but they do, and they're a very, very odd collection of ogres.
This guy!
3rd grade is the one I'm worried about.
Martin Caesar.
Nikolai spits on the ground when he realizes it's ogres. He goes, is it damn velo can load it.
Well, I don't know if we should see what they want or if we should get defensive now. I don't see any livery on them. I don't know if they're part of the king's army.
I think you jump to conclusions, my one-eyed friend, I think perhaps instead we should discern their purpose before we get too defensive. Not wise to provoke a fight against, those who are 13 feet tall and built like buildings.
Well, why don't you approach them then? Find out if they're friendly.
Certainly! Let us get our own fat ones involved.
Uh,
Francis! Torin! You've met your match, and you're about to meet them in person.
What's all this about?
Look, your father. Walk with me.
He looks considerably larger than what I think my father would have been.
Nonetheless,
So literally.
let us go discern purpose of these fine individuals. They're ogres, by the way, so don't say anything too smart or they'll get offended. Come now.
Nikolai, do you know the one that's dressed like a...
I want to. I'll go with them, but I'd like to shout out to Alexi in the back and Kislevian basically go and watch the rear in case there's others.
He kind of waves and says, "Ja, da, no problem." And this guy here, he kind of looks over, and he had been thinking he might have heard some little pipsqueaky noises coming from that direction earlier, but didn't pay too much attention. But now he kind of sees the three of you walking, and he points you out to the guy with the frilly hat. It clearly looks like he's sort of deferring to him, and this guy kind of looks over and he gives that big smile you can see on his face. And he just kind of motions to his two compatriots, and they just kind of stomp their way over amiably.
Oh, now look what you've done, Lucius.
And when as they approach, you can actually feel the earth shaking just a tad.
That's not my stomach, fellas.
And he just said, "Oi, Slims! What brings you out here today?"
Oh, just completing a bit of footwork for the city. What about yourselves? You look dressed for an occasion.
"We're on our way back from surveying the Empire. We fought some little scum up there northways."
Truly. Greatly successful, I imagine, since you return.
"Aye, some of us a little less successful than others." And he kind of glances back at this guy here. He says, "But we done our service and we've been dismissed, so here we are. Home again, so to speak."
Well, welcome home. Military service is very important, for even though the doom is inevitable, you certainly stem the tide. I congratulate all of you.
"Aye, excellent." He says, "Me mates and I ain't had much to eat on the road. You wouldn't happen to have anything you might share with us? In gratitude of our service, of course."
Well, unfortunately, the foods that we carry are necessary for this group here. However, I would be willing to offer good coin from those who have served the Empire for which to purchase their own food.
"Oh, can't exactly eat coin now, can I? Can't keep that down.
Oh no!
That's almost as bad as them northern folk. Weird taste they had, I tell you."
I imagine so. However, coin could purchase food.
"Where's the nearest city round here? We ain't seen much. We went into a village not far back, and they all went screaming away before we came even to them."
Well, if you follow the road a ways here, and I point down from where we came from, there is a port city. that will likely serve any great warriors of the Empire such as yourself, so long as you have the coin to purchase. There are in fact taverns, several.
Big taverns, are they?
The largest I've ever seen.
And this one pipes up and he said, could I be able to stand straight up with me head not hitting the ceiling?
He scratches his chin. Perhaps not, but I'm certain that they'd be willing to serve you.
Too bad. This guy says, are you quite certain you have nothing bigger to feed us?
Everything we have is quite necessary for our journey, whether it is for the travel itself or our arrival. It is all very explicitly outlined in our contract. Again, I am happy to pay you all for your service from my own pocket, to feed and gorge yourselves. However, we cannot offer you any of this.
He looks over your head as you're talking. Yeah, he seems to have lost track of you talking. He's looking curiously over you and past you, which is not hard for him to do, even for you, you. And he says, all right, you seem to have a few little ones there. We could probably make do with just one of them.
Excuse me. However, we have a contract, and it explains that we need to deliver everyone or escort everyone to said designation or designated area. And
he interrupts and looks back at Lucy and says, what's he going on about?
Talking about how important they are to our contract. Again, I can't say enough how happy I am that you served against the Northern Tide, despite the doom being inevitable, but we simply cannot give you any of the city's goods.
Isn't there something in that contract of yours that says something about giving good surfing men reward for their service? There's got to be something in there.
Right, like coin. I'm patting my pocket.
Yeah, that's true. It only mentions payment in coin, not in food.
It says, I ain't eaten in 2 days. It took all my willpower not to eat the people in that village back there. Try my patience a bit.
This is a tough one.
Yeah, well, see, the other thing is we would be voiding our, making our contract no longer good if we were not to escort everyone and everything.
He points at you and he says, listen here, you'd make a nice big mouthful. You stop going on about that precious contract of yours, or I think we've already figured out what we're going to have for supper.
Right, you make a very fair point.
It matters not about contract. Simple fact is, these people, they are under protection of they are under protection of Talagod. In turn, under protection of Talbheim. To try and eat one of them would only cause more problems for you.
Yeah, right, with the city.
He's starting to look really frustrated and annoyed. And he says, too many people talking. What? You tell me the answer. What you going to give me? I don't want your coin.
Perhaps Nikolai, look around.
And that was the guy with the leg, by the way. He kind of stepped forward. He looks now like he's had enough. He says, I ain't eaten in days.
Maybe Nikolai, look around. Find tracks. Maybe lead to bear, a deer.
He looks at the guy. He says, bear is good food. And this one over there says, not as good as human, but it could go okay.
If you want, Nikolai, lead back to cave. You can kill it yourself.
They say, all right, make a charm roll.
To me, it's just trying to appeal to animal instincts.
Hmm.
Can he spend something?
He
Please.
can spend a fortune point.
Yeah.
Roll
Is there a way I could assist him there too?
that. How are you assisting him?
And with the charm to try and convince.
But you have to tell me what your and you have to have a skill in charm.
Yeah, I do
I
have
think
skill
you do.
charm.
I think you do. Yeah. So, in what way are you assisting him? Like you have to tell me what.
Yeah. He's trying to these through fellows here that we could perhaps rummage food for, or just convince them of not wanting to eat any of our people or things.
At this point, you've already kind of talked enough in his mind about your stupid contract in his mind. So yeah, he's really not listening to you. So it's gonna have Nikolai. You can attempt another roll if you want to spend the fortune point.
My only one. Oh wait, there's 5.
No. It's just this is different than that. This is
I'll spend one.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead and roll
Like,
again.
come now, tell me you would not like to find and kill on bear. Maybe take out hunger pains on it.
Because he looks like he's considering it, and you can see he's kind of eyeing the whole group critically. Like you can see him weighing in his mind odds, sort of thing.
Just think about it. You can track. I track bear. You take it. You kill it. Tear it apart. Fill bellies with bear meat.
Mm-hmm. Okay, go ahead and try again. Oh shit!
Nice. He can't understand.
For a moment, he looks like he might consider it, and then this crotchety old one says in his ear, "I don't want to try to eat bear. We have." He says, we have good food right here. If they don't want to give it to us, can take it. They are just slims, easy pickings.
We're on the same side.
Not anymore.
And he says, he kind of tries to make a flourish, but he's just a little too awkward to pull it off. But he says, your offer is very generous, but I'm not going to take it. Instead, I think I might have to help myself to one of y'all's if you're not willing to give me one of the little ones. They're so small you wouldn't even miss them.
Well, I wouldn't, but someone back there would. And if you're going to assault us, it's an attack on Talbheim itself, but we are happy to kill all 3 of you here if you'll force us.
He kind of raises his eyebrow a little bit. And he says, challenge accepted, Slim. And we're gonna stop. We're gonna stop there.
Gonna be a short mini campaign, boys.